Welcome to Rogue's Den Hobbies. Today I'm painting some amazing models from a Supermassive Space Dwarves range, the Tenderisers. As the model is made of resin, plastic contact cement won't work. We have to use superglue. Activator really helps with bonding the parts quickly if you have it, but make sure to wear gloves. Choose whether you want an axe or a hammer where appropriate and glue them to the miniature. With the dwarves glued up, I attach them to 32mm bases. You can use a painting handle or cork if you want. It may make it easier for you, but I wanted to show you that it is doable directly on the base. With the model primed grey, I start off with a few coats of AK Interactive's Ducat Blue as a base coat on the jeans. I then apply a wash of Warhammer Colour Nuln Oil shade to the jeans, avoiding excessive pooling where possible, but leaving enough to give the jeans a dirty and used look. Back with AK Interactive's Ducat Blue, I apply a dry brush to bring back the colour on the high points of the jeans. I then do two more dry brushes, making them lighter and more controlled with each step, starting with Warhammer Colours Screaming Skull, and then finishing with AK Interactive's White. Moving on to the skin, I start with AK Interactive's Light Flesh for a base coat. I then apply a wash of Warhammer Colours Reichland Flesh shade. As the eyes are so small on these models, I don't attempt to paint them. Instead, I apply the flesh shade more heavily around the eyes, and I go in with a second pass if needed when it's dry. This will give the eyes enough definition and depth to make them believable. With the wash completed, I come back with AK Interactive's Light Flesh and highlight most of the skin on the model, making sure not to go into any of the recesses on the muscle definition. On the face, I focus on the top of the chin, the top of the cheekbones, above the top lip, the high points on the nose, and across the forehead where light would hit the face. Next, I do a second highlight of AK Interactive's Highlight Flesh, focusing more tightly where I would expect the light to actually hit the model. Again, giving attention to the face in the same areas. Remember, it doesn't need to be perfect. If it looks good at arm's length, it's good. If you're still unhappy with how it looks, then try a thin coat of Warhammer Colours Reichland Flesh shade to help blend the two highlights together. Lastly, on the skin, I apply AK Interactive's Shadow Flesh on the dwarf's lips. That's the hardest part of this painting scheme out of the way. Next, I'm going to work on the shirt, if the model has one, and the hair. I start by base coating them with Warhammer Colours Ulthuan Grey. I then lightly apply a coat of Warhammer Colours Agrax Earthshade, being careful not to let it pull. While a bit of pulling looks okay on the jeans, don't think it really has the same effect on the shirt or the hair. If it does pull, try spread it around, and if that doesn't work, then wick off the excess with a clean damp brush. Next, I apply a first highlight with the base colour Ulthuan Grey. I then finish with a second highlight of AK Interactive's white. Next up is the bandanas, the hair ties on the beards, and the wires that are on the weapons. I start by applying a base coat of Warhammer Colours Evil Sunz Scarlet. I then apply a wash of Warhammer Colours Agrax Earthshade and finish with a highlight of Evil Sunz Scarlet to bring the colour back on the high points. I chose to do these with a light tan leather to tie in with the brightness of the blues and whites, and start with a base coat of Warhammer Colours XV88. Once done, I apply a coat of Warhammer Colours contrast paint Snake Bite Leather. I then get Warhammer Colours Garagak Sewer, thin at about 50-50 with contrast medium, and apply it to the recesses of the boots and gloves, just to add some depth. I then bring the leather back up and highlight it with the XV88 that I started with. For the sole of the boots, I simply paint these with Warhammer Colours Rhinox Hide. It's time to tackle the steel toe caps and the weapons. To start, I apply a base coat of Warhammer Colours Iron Warriors. I then wash the toe caps and weapons in Warhammer Colours Null Oil shade. I then finish with a dry brush of Warhammer Colours Iron Breaker as the highlight. I keep the axe and hammer handles simple with a coat of AK Interactive's black. If you wanted to take it a step further, you could apply a thin highlight on the wraps on the handles with a medium grey colour. The only thing left now is the axe heads. To tackle these, I start by painting them an off-white colour, using something like Warhammer Colours Ulthuan Grey. This is easier to apply than white, and it brightens the paints that I'm going to apply next. With that done, next is Warhammer Colours Flash Gits Yellow. I go fairly thin. It's okay for some transparency, as most of the blade will be covered with the remaining colours. I thin Warhammer Colours Fire Dragon Bright a little more than I normally would, and I glaze on the paint from the middle of the blade to the tip and build up a gradient. As I apply more coats, I get closer and closer to the edge of the blade each time. Once I am happy with that, I move on to the final colour, which is Warhammer Colours Evil Sunz Scarlet. Again, thin down more than usual, I glaze from around 3/4 up the blade towards the edge, working successive layers closer and closer to the edge. And with that gradient complete, we are done. The tenderisers are complete and looking awesome, ready to do battle in the mines. You can grab this unit over at roguesdenhobbies.com. If this helped you, hit subscribe, drop a like and let us know what from our range of models you would like to see us paint next. And as always, paint like a rogue.